And if it's Thursday, then it's fishing and hunting today. And I have none other than the privilege of introducing just one of the Hall of Famers of the game of media and radio just worldwide. And that would be none other than Mr. J. Cripp himself. And today we do have on the show one of the great relations managers for Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever. And that is our guest tonight, none other than Mr. Jared. How are you guys doing today?
Good, Sydney. How are you? Jared, how are you, bud?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Good, yeah. Sydney gives us that high-speed intro. We like that. That's good. But I tell you what, first of all, I cannot believe. Oh, by the way, we have the NBA Finals going on. Need to mention that for everybody real quick. We'll give you a pre, and then we'll give you a little update before we leave this evening. But that can't start till 9, so we'll do that a little bit later. But I cannot believe, for one, and before we get into what we like to get into, Jared, this time of year, I have a couple questions for you. First of all, I can't believe it's July already. And you know what happens after 4th of July? Before you know it, it's snowing, you know?
Yeah, there's only 2 seasons over here in Minnesota.
Barrels and waiting for snow and snow.
That's correct.
Although, with that said, you've had a number of 90-degree days, haven't you?
We have. It's been extremely warm over here. Watching the news last night, I believe we're at our 14th day of over 90 degrees already this year, which is more than last year, and we're only at July 8th today. So
I know, it's amazing. I think you guys have had more than we had here. I mean, I'm not sure of that, but 14 sounds like we've not hit. I don't think 1490s, and good point you bring up. Not far after the 4th, and you've got that many already. And really, you guys see warm weather at least well into September before you start turning cold, don't you?
Yeah, we do. You know, typically when I go to the Minnesota State Fair, I prepare myself and mostly just wear a swimsuit to the State Fair because I'm sweating so much the entire time. But it's typically hot, muggy, and a lot of people at the State Fair when we've got a booth there for Pheasants Forever. So yeah, August is typically our really hot month, but we're going to surpass some records this year for the amount of heat we've had early on. That's for sure.
Sounds like it. What about now? What are you guys seeing up your way as far as ammo shortages? Is that continuing in your area up there?
Yep. I think it's pretty much nationwide. We talk with our national sponsors and partners at Federal, and there's an ammo shortage. You know, people are buying as much as they can, and as soon as it hit the shelves, it's gone. I was just at Gander Outdoors last night, actually, and other than 10 gauge and a couple 12 gauge shells, I couldn't find anything. As far as target shot goes and those types of things. So yeah, it's bad right now, and it's probably going to continue through the fall, was what it sounds like.
What are you hearing? Because we do Federal every show. We've done Federal's been with us for, my God, 20-some years. And from them, what they said they don't even mention it anymore. They don't even talk about the ammo shortage situation. Don't want us to mention the ammo shortage would be a better way of putting it. And what are you hearing, like from the retailers, like the Gander people that you were in last evening? What are they thinking? There's something. There has to be something that's causing this. Hoarding can't be all of this. And you hear conspiracy theories like you wouldn't believe with this stuff. But a fact is a fact, and there's no bullets. I'm telling you, there's nothing out here.
Yep. There's a lot of things. Some of it's politically motivated, and people go out and buy up a lot of rounds. During the pandemic, I forget what the number was, but we had like 7 million new shooters, I think it was, and if you times that by 2 boxes per person, I mean that's a lot of ammo.
Yep, that's true.
So
that's true.
it's all part of it, and it'll eventually come around. But our partners at Federal and all the other ammunition manufacturers are pushing it out as fast as they possibly can right now. I mean, I know for a fact that the folks here in Minnesota, Federal, hired a whole bunch of people, but you know, it takes time to train them. It takes time to get them in, and they're pumping out ammo as fast or faster than anyone right now. And it's being bought up just the same. So
I know that they've been 7 days, 3 shifts for as long as I can remember here in the last quite a few years, and you know they continue to do that. You can't do any more than that. You can't do any more than 7 days a week, 3 shifts a day. So
and as far as you know, like Pittman Robinson tax goes on ammunition, you know, a lot of that comes back to conservation, and our partners pay a pretty hefty fee at the end of the year for that. So it's all good stuff. That, you know, a lot of it comes back to conservation and helps fund everything that we do in the outdoors, which is great.
Have you seen anything about quantities that you can buy on any kind of ammo at all, or have we not gotten to that point with okay, you can only buy like 2 boxes of whatever it may be?
Last night it was limited to three boxes per customer. From what I saw, I haven't been shopping that much. I've got ammo in my basement that you know, I haven't used in years, and there's plenty sitting there. So I'm not about to go out and buy a whole bunch, because I don't need it right now, and I'm not worried about it. And if other people need ammo, you know, we'll let them have a turn at it. So.
Yeah, I agree. I've got, you know, we that shoot and hunt, I mean, we're going to have some, and it's not that we were, at least in my part, I don't have, because I looked ahead and said, oh, there's going to be a shortage. I had no clue that there was going to be a shortage. I thought when we went through that 22 shortage a while back, I thought that was unbelievable. Now it's across the board, so this may be something that, you know, for a while we may are going to have to live with. We're going to wait and see, but, you know, we just don't see any relief from it at all here, and you guys sound like you're the same way up there with it, too, and like you said, and I agree, I think it's across the country, and it might be worldwide for all I know, where we might have ammo issues, but no one uses the amount of ammo that we do here in the U.S., because there's so many gun restrictions. Pick a country, and you're lucky to have a gun, to be honest with you. So,
yeah, and you know, I did see last night there was 10 gauge, there was 12 and 20. There was some waterfowl loads there, some bismuth, no steel to speak of, but you know, there were loads available for people that wanted, as far as shotgun ammo goes. There wasn't a lot, but it was there, so that's an improvement.
So you look on that rifle shelf, and that's pretty well bare, and you look on that pistol ammo shelf, and that's probably pretty well bare too, isn't it?
I had my father with me, and he couldn't find any of those rounds. So yes, those were still lacking.
There you go. Well, but the only thing you can tell people is, look, if you need it, continue to look, and if you find it, get what you can get and add a little extra to that. If there's no quantity that you're able to live by, as far as you can do whatever the amount, and just get a little bit extra. That's about all you can do, and we'll see what happens. I do think it's, you know, somebody, I think, real quick, I think that may be affected a little bit by it, and it's a good point you brought up the new shooters. That's great. One new shooter is tremendous. 7 million is unbelievable. But how about the clubs, the gun clubs, the target ranges, the places like that? What's going to happen to them if they, and it may be already happening, where they get to the point that people don't come because they got no ammo to shoot? There's a thing that we might see some effect on the clubs.
Yep, and I think the manufacturers are aware of that, and they're doing the best they can to make sure that those big-time clubs that have a lot of shooters come in and people trying it for the first time, make sure they have their ammo. You know, we did 3 or 4 sporting clay shoots this spring, and all the clubs had ammo. They were restrictive with it to make sure that they had enough until they get their next shipment. But it's good to see that they're getting taken care of, and hopefully make sure that, you know, when it comes to R3, if we're going to get people out in the field, we got to make sure they they have something to go to the field with. So
that's for sure. And then we've got all the trap shoot championships coming up at Sparta. I'm assuming those are on. I haven't heard anything that they're not going to take place. There's a lot of ammo going to be needed there. And then we got the Olympics. There's shooting events in the Olympics too. So
yep.
We will see what happens. Stay posted, I guess, is all we can say. But we'll keep an eye on it for sure. And gun issues, we haven't even. There's no way we're getting into that because who knows what's going on with that. Just watch what's going on. I'll tell you a concern. I think we as people that enjoy the shooting sports and hunting is what's going on with the NRA, because really the NRA is the voice of the hunter and the shooter. Things are not good with what's going on at the NRA, and we don't hear much about or much from the NRA right now, do we?
No, we don't dabble in that too much. We support the Second Amendment as it relates to our hunting heritage, and outside of that, we're dealing with it right now with chapters too that are looking for firearms for their banquets and whatnot. It's slim pickings, and we've done the best we can to provide high quality firearms for manufacturers, and just like with ammo, it's going to get better over time, and it's just going to take a little while to get there, and people are going to have to be patient.
That's it. There you go. And we use the National Shooting Sport Foundation to give us updates here, and that's the voice for the industry, really. Just keep abreast of what's going on as best we can, and hope for the best. And I think we're going to get the best. And we had a number. I think last year in 2020, we had a number of new hunters in the country across the board, which was great.
Yep.
Down a little bit in 21, like turkey, for example. And that's all we've really gotten into yet because we haven't got to our fall seasons. But our turkey here in Ohio season was down in permits sold. I think a little bit of that, along with Division 2, was people getting back to work a little bit from being, their business or work, whatever that may be, being closed because of the virus going on in 20. And then some of that opening up, they're getting back. And, the old thing that hurts us the most with hunting and fishing is time. The time is the big factor. You'd love to do it all, but then other things like work and things like that get in the way. And things, say you can't do it. You just got X number of hours to do it. But I think still, and we'll watch it and see, I think we're going to be up. How about you guys in Minnesota with hunting license sales? Up, down, or about the same? Where do you think you are?
I know for last year it was up pretty much across the board. But you're right. When people have more time and they're working from home, I think that's the biggest factor, is to have the time to get out and do it. And then the other side of it too is when you look at the supply chain, I think a lot of people got interested in that field to plate connection, not having to rely on going to the superstore, but taking that high quality protein, whether it's from the uplands or woods or wherever you find yourself in the outdoors. I think that was a big part of it too, and that locavore movement continues to be pretty big, at least in our eyes.
I think that's tremendous to see that part of it, and that's a great point to bring up about that too. And what about that talk about quality protein? You're not going to get any better than that.
High quality.
There is, and you can pick across the board here, and as well as I do, from rabbit to the biggest game animal that we pursue. All of it and all the stops in between. It's all in the prep, and if you know how to prep it, you know how to do it, you're going to come out with a quality dish. There's no question about it. You get so many people that try wild game. I like to have been the fly on the wall in a lot of those dining rooms where, wow, that's good. What is it? How many times we heard that? It was probably quite a few times.
Yep. Yeah. I know for us, my family and I, we've still got a good deal of venison in there. I just had a bunch of cheddar wurst made with some pheasant and some geese that we had left over from last year. A lot of had some good fishing already this year. So yeah, we've been, as far as wild game goes, we've been living high on the hog here in rural Minnesota. So it's been good. It's been good.
Well, glad to hear you're in rural Minnesota instead of downtown Minneapolis, Minnesota. I think you're much better off out there in the woods. You know what I'm saying? A lot safer, that's for sure. But yeah, that's a good point. And then last year too, with our draw hunts here in Ohio, we had the most ever participate in the draw hunts. 87,000 people in the draw hunts last year in Ohio. So you know what that tells me, and I guarantee you guys are probably thinking the same thing. Who's thinking hunting is on the downward slide? We look at these numbers, and it's not hunting. Hunting's popular. Time is the deal. That's the big deal. You just don't have the time.
Yep. Time is part of it, and access I think can be a part of it. Although when people do their homework, we do have a lot of access programs outside of waterfowl production areas and wildlife management areas across the country. There's a lot of walk-in opportunities, even private lands opportunities where people, I don't know. I've always been one to think that if people take the time and go knock on some doors, you might have to knock on a few, but eventually you're going to find somebody that likes the way you're doing things in the outdoors and allow you to do some hunting on private land. So there's opportunities out there, and that's part of it as well.
Well, I think in some of the cases we're up against people selling their land for leases, deer leases primarily, and I know we had issues here with some of that where farms are selling leases, but they're not selling anything other than the deer lease. Sometimes these guys try and buy up hunting leases, period, and cover all species. And some of the farmers, we're seeing a little bit of it. They're saying, okay, you can do deer, but I'm going to leave the other game that we like to pursue open to family, friends, and that type of thing. Because a lot of these leases, they're not even really particularly happy that the family wants to hunt on their own farm. You can't do that. I mean, can't write a lease like that where your family can't even hunt. So we're seeing a little of that. Leases are popular. But, another good point, that's not a bad idea. People want to still go knock on doors. It's not like it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. It's a heck of a lot easier to do that. But if they've got a business card and hand that to that farm right away when you knock on that door, that tells them that you're who you are. They know who you are right away. I think that can go a step closer to getting it. And if you don't have any, you can make up your own little card. Put your name, address, phone, email, or whatever you want to put on that little card and use those. Might help you open up a door or two.
Oh yeah, we've got guys in our office I know for pheasant, turkey, and deer. They send out a letter actually to landowners, just kind of testing their interest in allowing access, and they typically give them half of what's harvested, and they've had a lot of success with it. So that's something I think more people should try.
I think that's a great idea. That's outstanding. If all you got to do is, and I'll tell you, that's another good point about that letter idea. How many letters do people get anymore? My God, you get a letter now and you want to dance. I mean, that's a big deal to get a handwritten letter or a typed letter from somebody, because everything's email, text, or whatever the case may be. We barely phone call anybody anymore. I think that's a great idea. I can see where they would get some nice response to that. That's for sure. Yeah, I do a little piece in one of the journals 1 month about doing that. Have they ever done that in Quail Forever or Pheasants Forever?
No. That's actually that's a pretty good idea. Actually, we should ask him the art of the ask. I can see it right now. That's the title.
I think it would be a tremendous little piece. I really do. And I think you have probably people getting back to you saying, hey, thanks for that idea. I think it's a good idea. Give it a shot.
Yep.
See what happens, for sure. Well, here we are, my friend, July, like we talked about. We like doing our spring and summer update before we get ready for the season coming up here. Well, the season's out in the Dakotas. They're, October openers for birds out there, so we look at it that way. Yep. We're not all that far away, that's for sure. We open up here in Ohio in November. You guys open up your way in Minnesota. Are you an October pheasant opener?
Yep. Normally around that October 12th, mid-October. Yep.
So here we are with looking at how do you think our spring hatches went for pheasant and quail? What do you think?
You know, winter was pretty good across the board in a lot of different states, and there was a lot of optimism going into the spring. And you know, thankfully, when we talked about it at the beginning of the show, we've had a lot of warm weather early on. We've had a lot of dry weather, and that's extremely good for pheasants. Typically, when there's dry warm weather in the spring during the prime nesting season and brood rearing season, that typically results in an increase in pheasants. Now, there's cautious optimism across the board because a lot of upland hunters don't realize too many people focus on winter and spring weather, but summer weather, when it gets hot and dry like it has been in the Midwest here for an extended period of time, that can be disastrous for young pheasant broods, mostly from the standpoint that when the grass starts to turn brown, the bugs start to go away, and they don't have enough nutrition or soft-bodied insects to get them through their first about 3 months of life. I mean, they exclusively 100% soft-bodied insects for about the first 3 months. So, you know, a lot of optimism still. We've heard of some really big broods. I've had some videos sent to me as the PR guy. Some really, really nice broods in Minnesota, South Dakota, North Dakota, Iowa. Northwest Iowa might be really, really good this year. But nobody really knows yet what's going to happen with the extended drought we've seen. So the Dakotas, Minnesota, Iowa, a lot of those states just got an inch of rain for the first time in a long time. You know, and people are just wondering, is it too late? And we're seeing pheasants all the way from newly hatched right now to we've had some reported to us that are 6 weeks old already, which is great. The earlier the hatch is throughout the pheasant range, the more birds that get recruited into the fall population. So right now it's sort of a wait and see. Typically August roadside counts are going to be coming up here really quick, and that's going to give us a good indication of whether or not the drought and dry weather impacted insect production enough that it would hurt the pheasants. We're just not sure yet.
Some of those states, too, Jared, do they do whistle counts for the quail at all?
Yep. There are states that do whistle counts. There's states like Nebraska that do rural mail carrier counts as well, where the mailman is taking count of what's going on there. But yes, you know, some of those occur a little bit later into the fall season, which is when we really get an idea of what the quail population is going to be like across their range. So it's a little bit, they come out a little bit later than the pheasant counts do, which is typically right around the 1st of September. Those are published. We have a really good idea of what we're working with going into the fall season. And that's when upland hunters get really excited, because they start diving into those numbers county by county, region by region, and seeing exactly where you know, some of the biggest pheasant broods and biggest population increases are. And that's where people start to kind of like a math equation. They start breaking it down and getting ready for the season.
Well, there you go. That's part of the season excitement of getting ready for the season, that's for sure. And you see good numbers on broods, roadside counts, whistle counts, whatever the case may be. That just adds to the excitement, doesn't it?
It does. And I can tell you anecdotally, from pretty much most of the big pheasant states are in the Midwest and Great Plains. Anecdotally, the amount of pheasants people were seeing in the end of winter and early spring out on the landscape while people were out turkey hunting, you know, listening to the crowing that was going on. There's a lot of pheasants on the landscape right now, comparatively to previous years. And if they were able to get their broods through this drought, if they're able to do it, we could have a lights out season in some regions. I think it's most likely going to be spotty, just depending on which areas got, you know, little timely rain showers here and there to keep the bug production going. That's going to be kind of the name of the game, I think. But again, until brood counts come out, we really don't know exactly to what extent. It's going to impact it, but we don't know to what extent.
Hey, well, that's interesting to see, and that's going to be critical, it sounds like, from what you're saying for this, this period we're in right now, leading up to the seasons for sure. 6-week-old chick, Jared, pretty well on its own, Pheasant and Quail both, or is Mama still keeping an eye on it?
Nope, at that point, they're still in their family units. Mom's still keeping an eye on them. Once we start to get into kind of that August, September time frame, they tend to start breaking up a little bit. But typically, I think it's kind of the same across the board. Early season, whether it's pheasants, quail, obviously staying cubbies, rough grouse, those types of things. Early on, you're gonna run into a number of broods that are still kind of hold up together, and they start breaking up as we get later into fall and they get more pressure.
Is water issues with it being so dry as far as these birds getting access to water? Is that an issue at all with what's going on with this drought situation now?
It certainly can be. Having dew on the landscape can be important for pheasants as a source of water. Typically, they get most of their water from the insects that they're eating, but that's where it tends to get a little hazy with the drought. Is if they aren't getting that water intake and food intake in general, they can pass away pretty quick. They need a lot of protein in order to grow. At a rate that's going to sustain them. So, that morning dew can play a pretty significant role. So we're glad we've got some rain now. There's some rain chances in the forecast for the Midwest here the next couple days. Nothing big, but just some light summer rains that hopefully bring life to the grasslands.
And here's another thing too, with how critical the insect population is for these little birds. There really, it sounds like there's no last resort. What I mean by that, if there's no insects, they don't have option B to go to as far as food, do they?
No, they're 100% insects, and if they don't have that, once they get about 3 months or more down the line, they can start to turn and focus on different things. If there's cover crops out there, alfalfa, those types of things, and even some grain if it's available at all. But they rely heavily on insects to raise a brood.
How are we looking to now? We'll break through after we take our little break here in a few minutes. We'll break up the states a little. How you think it's going to fare a little bit with this? Like you said, that northwest corner of Iowa might be a hot spot coming up. Maybe pick a spot or two that might be one of those hot spots. But how are the Dakotas looking? Drought issues there for sure. Weren't they down with pheasant population out there last year?
That seemed like so long ago now. Populations out there were actually pretty good. I went out to the Aberdeen area in late January, and there were birds everywhere. I mean, I had no problem late January shooting a limit of roosters. I was just hunting by myself, trying to stay away from people. I just kind of brought my camper with and just did my own thing with the dogs. And there were pheasants everywhere. Same for North Dakota a little bit. They're still recovering. They had a drought. I think it was either 2016 or 2017, followed by just an unbelievably horrible winter, and they're sort of still recovering from that. They've had really dry weather early on. I know in some parts of the state, the first big thunderstorm they got came through and dropped 10 inches of rain and some hail, which that's typically not good for anything. But we actually just did a podcast for North Dakota and South Dakota with our two state coordinators in those states. And they're still remaining optimistic from the things that they're hearing and seeing on the landscape. So, North Dakota and South Dakota have the ability to produce a ton of ringneck pheasants. And, again, I think it's going to be regional. There's going to be regions that are going to lack a little bit, and there's going to be other ones that pick up the pace. So I think it's gonna come down to doing some scouting and figuring out where those populations fared well.
It's not access. There's a lot of public access out there for people. You don't have to really go with an outfitter, but that probably the question is going to be maybe, and sounds more for North Dakota than South, is going to be just bird populations. But it may turn the other way because you really don't. Are you, as far as what, are you getting any feedback, Jared, about any kind of brood sizes from out there at all?
Yeah, the first we did a blog the other day, and it's talked about in our podcast that I just posted on the Pheasants River Facebook page this afternoon. But there is the brood sizes have been pretty good from the people that I've talked to. So that's an indication that it was an early hatch, it was a good hatch, and hopefully that holds true. And, when it comes to one of the other things we're going to deal with, too, with the drought is, there's going to be CRP acres, Conservation Reserve Program acres, that are typically enrolled in walk-in or somewhere else that are going to be opened up to emergency haying and grazing because of the drought. So we're going to be contending with that as well. But typically, those are only opened up well after the primary nesting and brood rearing season. So, when it comes to that, people are probably going to see a few areas that are lacking in cover.
Well, that's a good point. They wait to do that until after the nesting season's over. That would not be a good idea to do it prior, would it?
Nope.
We've lived before with grazing on these CRP lands out there. In fact, there was a few years back there where there was, I think, quite a bit of grazing done. It seemed to work out okay, didn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting because people go out there and they'll see that there's less grass in the landscape, and but you know what? That's what the Conservation Reserve Program. Part of that program is to act as a safety net for farmers and ranchers when these types of things happen. Right now, it seems like we're seeing a drought like once every 3 to 5 or 3 to 6 years. And it actually makes the case for putting more CRP on the landscape. I mean, it's one of the only food sources that's left over, when we have a bad drought. And, as far as that goes, some of the areas that they open up, Pheasants Forever tries to work with state agencies to identify areas that actually could benefit from management. So it's not just, like a brome grass mixture out on the landscape. And those are the areas, if those get hayed off, that's actually good management for down the road too. So it can be a win-win for everybody.
Here's the other thing, though, I think we run into a problem with, too, is when you got high crop prices, you're going to have people wanting to plant about anywhere they'll even plant corn in a window planter if they think it would work. I mean, they're looking for places to plant. So is that a concern with losing some CRP where you have crop prices being so high?
It certainly can be, but that's why we've been working hard on the Conservation Reserve Program to make sure that rental rates are competitive with county averages, so that if people want to get into the program, there's been times it's been a pretty easy decision to switch over to row crops, but we've got a lot of biologists on the landscape, and we sort of maintain that there's room for conservation on every single farm. Not every acre is created equal, and in some of those low productivity acres that landowners and farmers and producers might constantly be losing money on. Those are the acres that we try to target to help them out with some type of conservation program and reallocate their funds to the best parts of the field while still getting a stipend of some sort for a conservation title program.
Well, and to me, I think, and I agree with you, I think that's a great point you brought up too, about every farm can, participate in some way with a habitat program. It doesn't have to be a major program, but every little bit helps. I know here in Ohio, I mean, when big machinery came as far as farm machinery, I mean, fence rows had to go because you couldn't turn some of this stuff around, even with the fence rows that were here. So now, it's parts of the fence row.
And on that point too, the General Conservation Reserve Program sign up is open through July 23rd. It's competitive, and then beyond that, we've got the continuous CRP program, which is non-competitive. You can get into it anytime. And, especially out your way where there's not as many grasslands as there used to be, and there's, a lot of deer hunters and whatnot, you can help both by putting grass on the landscape. I mean, if for any deer hunters out there listening, if you've never hunted a CRP field before, or a big grassland next to a woodland for big bucks, man, they use those as travel corridors, and you can have pheasants and all sorts of other critters out there too. And turkeys, as far as that goes, they love nesting in that and raising their broods around CRP fields. It's great stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And, that's a good point to bring up with deer, too, especially because there's only three things with them. They got a bedding area, they got a pass-through area, and they got a feeding area. So, if you enhance those in any way, and CRP is certainly a good way to do that. It's going to help not only our upland hunting, but it's going to help our deer and turkey, which in a lot of cases for a lot of places are the driving two species that keep the engine going for sure. So can't forget, though, the upland part of it, and just a good old rabbit hunt or a pheasant hunt, and definitely waterfowl hunting, too. It's all good. It's not only deer and turkey, that's for sure. Quick little break. We'll do that quick little break, Sydney, and then we'll come back and we'll get into, we got a little bit more to cover here with Jared. So let's take our little break, do that NBA get ready for, and do that little bit of worldwide weather. It's Fishing and Hunting today. Right back with more right after this.
Now, currently, if you happen to be in Minnesota, it's like about 73 degrees, kind of mid-70s there. Low might be 60 tonight from what I'm seeing here. Now, if you're kind of further down south, New Orleans to be exact, 84 degrees. Now, if we go up to the East Coast, 73 degrees in New York. Philadelphia, 83 degrees. Houston, Texas, 82, which we could expect that down there. Now, if we jump across the ocean, we go to Nairobi, 59 degrees. They're a little chilly. That's the chilliest I've seen so far. How about Salvador, 82 degrees. Istanbul, Turkey, 73 degrees if you're out that far listening. Beijing, 73 degrees. It seems like what I'm catching on is there's a 60 to 70s, and then you got like little speckles of 80-degree weather around. Now, to cut to the chase on sports, we have a game tonight, 9 p.m. Suns and the Bucks. The Bucks are at the Suns today, and currently the series is being won by the Suns 1-0. Bucks need a win tonight. If you've seen the game, it was really one-sided. It appears that the Bucks really don't have an answer right now for the scoring trio, I would call it, from the Suns right now. And the point guard seems to be able to turn it on whenever he wants. He passes the ball for 2 quarters. Then next, he got 41 points by the end of the game. It's that bad right now. So the Bucks need to figure out how to stop that. The offense isn't the problem for the Bucks, but they definitely need to get defensively sound with this team for this to be a complete sweep. And get the broom out, folks, because it may be that serious. It may be almost that time for Phoenix to bring one home. But that's pretty much it. This is Sid Davis reporting. And back to you guys.
Thanks, Sid, for that update. And as we do worldwide podcasting anymore, we got to do a little bit of worldwide weather for you, too. And we thank you for doing that, too. NBA comes up right after us this evening. And again, that's Milwaukee at Phoenix. I want to mention real quick before we get back to Jared, schedule.
Absolutely.
So I paused a little bit because we were talking about ammo earlier. And yes, that goes just you're going to shoot, let's shoot the best. That's federal premium for sure. But this time of year, it's time to be on the range. And the range time may, if you're not a hunter as far as turkey, once your upland seasons are over and your deer season's over, really your range time starts right after that, March through August. But if you're a turkey hunter, well, a lot of people are, but not everybody, it's time to get on the range when the turkey season's over. That makes it May through August, and just 100 rounds a month. We're going to make a difference come September 1st. We open up across the country with dove, I think everywhere, as the dove season is going to open on the 1st of September. You're going to see differences for sure when you get to the field, if you get out and do a little bit of those shotgun disciplines before you get there. And then, not far after that, we're into the teal season too, and we know how quick those little guys can fly. So a little bit of on that steep little trap and throw in some sporting clays, and get out there and get that 300-400 rounds in minimum before you come September 1st, and I think you're going to see some differences for sure. As far as ammo, if you're looking for quality target ammo, gold medal and the entire line of federal premium target ammo, not going to get any better than that. Quality products for sure. We'll have JR will be back in here with us as we get closer to the seasons, and we'll start talking about breaking down some of the ammo that you're going to need for the different seasons as we go through the seasons every year that we like to do here on Fishing and Hunting Today. Right now, back with Wiklund, our spring-summer visit with Jared with Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever, PR manager for both. That's a busy job in itself, my friend. You're one of those guys sometimes probably in that Can We Find Enough Time column, aren't you?
No, I appreciate that. I do a little bit of everything. We've got another public relations specialist, which I used to be, if you remember that. And public relations manager now, and it looks like we're going to be hiring a public relations specialist to kind of boost up our team. We got a lot of different things going, habitat projects from the chapter side. We've got farm bill biologist side. We've got land acquisitions, and then we've got Call of the Uplands, which is our current 5-year, $500 million, 9 million acre campaign to save America's uplands, and it's going really great. And that takes up a big part of my time.
Well, are there any areas where, with that 9 million acre project, where really stands out as far as really a lot of interest, a lot of acreage that's getting involved in that program?
It's targeted at the pheasant range as a whole, and I would encourage folks to check out calloftheuplands.org. And they can go on there and see how we've kind of got things laid out. We've got an eastern region, a central region, and a western region. And in each one of those, we've got goals for acres. We've got goals to introduce people to shooting sports. And we've got advocacy goals too. We're working hard right now to try and get some new legislation enacted. That's gonna help grasslands. It's gonna help farmers. It's gonna help ranchers, and it's going to help the bird that we love. So a lot of different things going on with that right now. And again, calloftheuplands.org. I would encourage people to go on there and check out some of the cool projects we've got going on. Big land acquisition, just all sorts of neat stuff. Walk-in programs that we're working on. Lots of good stuff there for people to view.
How are you guys up in your home state of Minnesota as far as on the high school level with shooting teams and things like that with the kids? Are you seeing some of that up there?
It's big time, yeah. My local chapter, Washington County Pheasants Forever, I think we've got either 9 or 11 different trap teams that we help sponsor through a raffle that they sell tickets for, and we give all the money back to them. It's a pretty neat deal. But Minnesota, Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin, there's just all the states around here have big time high school shooters.
That's good to hear.
I remember a time when I was working in Iowa. This goes back 6 to 8 years ago now. I went to one of my chapters was hosting a a trap shoot, and I had an eighth grade girl. She didn't even look eighth grade. She looked a lot younger than that. She was wearing pink cowboy boots, stepped up and just absolutely smoked me on the trap line. So there's a lot of good shooters out there. We definitely promote the heck out of youth shooting sports. It's a big deal for us as an organization and for the country, as far as using up ammo and those sales going back to conservation. It's a big deal.
I bet you she is still shooting. Wouldn't you think? Would you bet on the fact that little one there is probably still enjoying shooting?
I'm sure she is. I'm sure she's probably telling the story of how she annihilated a Pheasants Forever rat back in the day. Yeah, she's still shooting, no doubt. I guarantee.
Is there any way you can get a hold of her and maybe buy off of her telling that story?
You know what? I know a few people in that chapter still. I might have to reach out.
That's neat to hear. Well, I'll tell you what, my friend, thank you for the ladies, because there's a lot of them enjoying these programs. A lot of the states have Women in the Outdoor programs. I have done so much to bring more ladies to the field, and they're enjoying it. And the neat part about it, the idea was to bring the kids. Mom brings the kids. That's a natural, and I think that's happened. Moms and daughters for sure, and the little guys too.
Oh, yeah.
They're doing it too. But the other neat thing about it is they're bringing friends. They're bringing their friends to the sport of hunting and shooting. That's really, to me, I think that's a great part of it too. Then they lead the way before it's all said and done, because they're very important, and the industry knows it now. I mean, they're catering to the lady shooter and to the lady hunter.
Oh yeah,
Big time.
We've seen a shift in some of our local banquets too, where there's a lot more women now. We've got a Women on the Wing initiative that works to get more women hunters and landowners together to basically share in our hunting heritage, and we've got specific programs that are geared towards women to get more of them outdoors. I think part of it is that we're starting to see this shift where it's not just a male sport or a male heritage anymore. We're getting a lot of women involved, and I'm one. I've got two little girls that love to turkey hunt and love to deer hunt and love to upland hunt with Dad, and they're gonna be hunters when they're old enough too. They just turned 5, but we definitely are seeing a trend in more women hunters, and it's a wonderful thing. I've got some of them that work with me that are excellent bird dog trainers, excellent shots. We've got Rachel Hovland in our marketing department here at Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever is just like an expert trap shooter. It's amazing when she comes out and just blows the competition away when we go out and just have a fun get together. So it's nice to see. And Women on the Wing initiative for Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever is a big deal, and it continues to grow by the day.
I think that's outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. I long have preached the fact that the importance of the ladies in the outdoors, and we're really starting to see it now. And when you start seeing the industry catering to the lady part of the sport, with the clothing to the gun fits to whatever the case may be, that they realize what's happening, and thank goodness, and good for the ladies. And heck, I hope they lead the way, and they very, very well may do it. I agree with you 1,000%. Great to see them out there. And you've got two little ones, like you said, coming up, and with Dad being involved in the outdoors, that's not a bad thing. They have Dad involved in the outdoors, because that helps them along the way. So that's pretty neat, too, with your two little guys. Couple quick questions, my friend. I want to ask you, too. We wanted to get into the virus cause and effect with what's going on with conservation groups. We'll mention that, too. But have you talked to, real quick, with our situation here with quail here in Ohio, You're probably aware we've changed the season here in Ohio, and to me, I think we did something here with our season here in Ohio that really hurt. And what that was, we took away quail hunting on public hunting areas here in Ohio, and totally done away with that. And now the only place really you're going to quail hunt here in Ohio, there's a couple draw hunts that we do for public hunting. But other than that, there's no public hunting for quail here in Ohio anymore. It's private land only. Bag limit, I think, was reduced again. I think it's 2 now here, if I'm not mistaken, here in Ohio. Our season is just till the end of November. It starts when we start our upland, always the first Friday of November here in Ohio till the end of that month of November. But my thought is, with taking away quail hunting off of public hunting area, what happens is you take away the chance for people to enjoy a bird dog pointing a quail, because let's face it, it's good to knock on doors. We talked about it earlier, but you're not always going to have that success to get on that farm to hunt. A lot of people here in Ohio, they'll say, okay, you can hunt rabbit, you can hunt squirrel, but leave my quail alone. They're very protective of quail here in a lot of farms here in Ohio. To me, we just took away the sport and the excitement of quail hunting for possible new quail hunters. What do you think?
Yep. Yeah, I think it's cyclical, just like anything. You go through these highs and lows with quail populations, or any type of game. You look at what's happened with elk in some of those eastern or mid-Atlantic states, right, where they didn't have any for a long time, and now they've got them back. And I think that's part of what Quail Forever and the agencies are working together to try to do. Some of those quail focal areas, trying to find the recipe to bring quail back to a level, to a huntable level. I think it probably most likely got to a point where there wasn't a huntable level of them anymore, and we're working hard to get them back. But management efforts for quail versus pheasant and other wildlife out there, it takes some pretty extreme management for them. They have some specific habitat details that they need on the landscape in order to survive. So I think you'll see it come back around. But mostly from the public land side, I'm guessing the idea is to protect the population that's left and hopefully grow it so that they can open it back up over time.
Well, we hope. I think it's going to be a while coming, though. I really do, because we just never recovered from those blizzards. Never happened. We even didn't have a quail season here in Ohio for 10 years. Everything the Quail Forever has done here in Ohio is tremendous. And I've seen some of the projects that are outstanding projects that Pheasant Forever and Quail Forever both have done here in Ohio. No question about that. It's going to be a challenge. It's hard to get habitat back, and we know the key is habitat. That's number one on the list. And I hate to think where we'd be, my friend, without Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever. I'm telling you, there's no question about it. We would not be, not only here, but, pick a state. But without the projects that you guys do, we would not be in the shape that we're in with populations of both of these birds.
Yep, and a lot of that is credit to our chapters. It's volunteers that care about the resource, that care about the habitat, that are putting that down and working together with them and state agencies. And that brings up a good point for the next time I'm on. I'm hoping I can talk about it. But we've got 1 or 2 really big land acquisitions coming to the state of Ohio. And look forward to talking about that in the future. But the next time I'm on, I'm hoping I can give people a little preview of some awesome public land opportunities that Pheasants Forever, Quail Forever, and our partners are helping open up in the state. We've got some really good things coming, and we've done some really good things throughout history. But the birds need our help more now than ever. They need grasslands. They need early successional habitat, and our organization is well suited to help make those changes and differences on the landscape.
Well, we'll make sure, and we'll talk about that when we do our late August, early September little bit of a preview, and then right before the season starts in October, so like we always do, we'll do it again then. I think would be a good time to do it too.
That'd be great.
What do you think now with the effect of this COVID deal has been on not only your group, PF and QF, but with conservation groups in general? Across the board, it has taken an effect on it, hasn't it?
It was tough sledding there for quite a few months for conservation groups. I mean, we're all these groups are nonprofits. They rely a lot on local banquets that are running memberships, and that's how we're a little bit different than some of the others where only the membership fees come back to Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever headquarters, and our chapters keep their dollars that they raise and they use them for awesome habitat projects. But it was tough sledding, but through the grace of God and through the willingness of our awesome volunteers, which I think we had about 125 or 130 chapters across the nation, actually came forward, and they resubmitted their banquet numbers from the previous year and gave people memberships, knowing that we were hurting as an organization. And thanks to them, and thanks to we basically had to freeze travel and everything for all of our employees across the board in order to get through. And we've made it through, but membership is the biggest thing. That's taken a pretty serious hit. We were once at about 140. Now we're down to about 119, 120, and at $35 a crack, that's a big hit for an organization our size.
What are the thoughts with getting that back? Do you feel like with getting back on the banquet trail again? What I mean by that, where chapters are going to have their banquets, they're back on their banquet schedule. There's definitely right there, because you get your membership when you go to your banquet, so that should give you a nice uptick this year with that drop that you saw in membership, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, it definitely should, because we were missing about 400 to 500 banquets from the last fiscal year, which it's a big number. It's a big deal for us.
Sure it is.
The banquets, I've attended one or two at the beginning here as they started to open back up. They've been high energy. They've been high dollar. People have got some COVID funds to spend. That seems to be apparent. But not everybody's comfortable yet being back. I would say there's only been a few of them that have been full boat, fully loaded with people. There's some that are down. I know some of my Iowa chapters that I've talked with, they're down a little bit, and that stems from a couple different things. They're trying to do it during summer, and that's a tough nut to crack with people traveling and kids out of school. You've got people that are still a little weary about going back into big public gatherings. I know for myself personally, I just started traveling again for Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever, and it's been a little bit weird, not being around people for that long, and then all of a sudden just opening it up. So I think it's going to take a little bit, but by the time we get to this fall, and already we're seeing it this summer, people want to get out. They want to see each other again. They want to swap hunting stories, maybe have a beer or a cocktail, and talk about the good old days. And we're trying like hell right now to get back to that.
Well, another point too, I think it's worth mentioning too, and I'm sure you've seen it, I've seen it too, with the banquets that we've attended. You look at the faces of the attendees, and I think here again is why the ladies are playing a very important part in this mix too. If you had to take an average age, a lot of times with these banquets, as far as attendees go, there's a lot of 60-plussers there. This virus affected that crowd the most, the 60-plus crowd. There's no question.
Undoubtedly.
It's going to get in their mindset. It's going to take. And here's another part to mix into that 60-plus crowd mix too. They're the ones that have got the money that they can spend at these banquets and bid on whatever the case may be. A lot of chances, younger people have younger families, they can get to the banquet, and in some cases that may be a monetary challenge for them too, just for that matter. But when it comes to the bidding on a lot of the items that are up for auction, it's the 60-plus crowd that drives that. So it's going to take a while, mindset-wise, for that group to feel safe now to come back, even though they've been vaccinated, because the vaccination, stupid not to do it, but it doesn't guarantee you're not going to get it. It's going to keep you out of the hospital. That's major. And it's going to keep you from getting real sick. So I'm thinking in the mindset for some of them, Judd, they're thinking, well, why do I want to take that maybe chance, even though I'm not going to get deathly sick from it? I'll just wait till next year. So, that's going to play into the mix.
Yep, that's. I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, that's kind of where we're at right now with banquets. What I'd like to see is, we talked earlier in the show about you've got these new shooters, these new outdoorsmen and outdoors women that have come out of the fold during COVID when they've had more time to try things out and get after it. And a lot of those people were the younger crowd. From everything I've gathered in the data that I've seen. So I'm hopeful that we can latch on to those people. We just got off the phone yesterday, virtual meeting between a whole bunch of different groups about, hey, let's just get back together and be face to face and see each other. So we're looking at putting together a really fun event here in Minnesota between backcountry hunters and anglers. Sportsman for the Boundary Waters, Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever, I think National Wild Turkey Federation, and some others to get people out and just see each other again. Get back to a level of normalization and get back out in the field with one another. And I think if we can do that, people are going to start coming back to banquets. They're going to start spending money. But again, during COVID, the philanthropy that I saw of people donating to charities, we wouldn't have gotten through COVID without the support of donors, members, and our chapters. So a big shout out to all of those different groups to help carry not just Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever, but every conservation group through the pandemic.
I'll tell you what, that's an outstanding point you bring up, my friend. No question about that. As we're seeing that's exactly what's happening with the conservation groups. Everybody that I know of, anyway, is doing a little bit of extra. Hey, your membership's 30 or 35. We'll go 50. We'll go 60. That across the board, I think that's the kind
makes
of thing
a difference.
And it absolutely makes a difference. And those kind of get-togethers that you're doing, that's going to grow that younger crowd. And when you get them at those kind of events, they're going to go to those kind of events, do outdoors at the range nights and things like that, a little fish fry or whatever the case may be. Then you say, oh, and by the way, we're going to have our chapter or banquet whenever. And that's the way you can grow that younger crowd, getting them more into the mix of the banquet and maybe spending $1 on taking a shot at a nice quail print or whatever the case may be that you're going to bid on. Might work.
Yep, that's
all
the idea.
Good stuff. Well, my friend, I guess we're going to probably, we could do this the rest of the night if you want to. We just do this till you go to work tomorrow, or we can say till next.
I'm going camping tomorrow, Jerry.
Again, you're going. Last time we talked, getting your segment set up for tonight, you were fishing, getting ready to go out to catch a few walleye, and I was getting ready to pretend setting up the grill to grill those walleye. Did you put some on the grill?
Yeah, we caught a lot of walleye. It was as fast as you could catch them between 17 and 22 inches. It was
wow.
one of the better 3 days of fishing I've had. So it was awesome, and that's just an outdoor treat.
Well, you're darn tootin' with that, my friend. I mean, you got a little bit of walleye on the dinner table, some cornbread, and a little coleslaw and a cold beer, and you ain't going to get too much better, that's for sure. And, wow, it's the walleye is the fish in Minnesota. I'm assuming you were fishing in Minnesota. It sounds like it.
Yeah, 1 day in Minnesota and 2 days in South Dakota, and they were both excellent.
Well, they got some nice walleye out there, too. My friend, enjoy your camping trip. Enjoy your little ones. Bring them up into the sport of hunting and fishing, which I know you do. And best to you and your family. Let's plan on getting back end of August, 1st of September. We'll start getting ready to do a preview, and we'll mention those acquisitions here in Ohio.
Very good. Appreciate the support, Mr. Kripp.
And we can do the help, my friend. Give me a call. If I don't answer, pick up. I'll get back to you.
Sounds good.
Take care. There you go. Jared Wiklund, PR manager for both Pheasants Forever. Outstanding organizations. Go to the website for both of them. We had wanted to mention, please become a member of PF and QF. $35 is what it's going to take to do that. If you can add a little bit to that, that's tremendous. Without your support, these groups going through the year that they went through in 2020 with what was going on, Jared's absolutely right. They would not have survived that year. So thanks out to everybody that supported their conservation groups for sure. Continue to do that so we can continue the great tradition and heritage of both our shooting sports and hunting here in this country. That's for sure. I think we got a nice little wrap right there with that. I think we're going to say so long until next week. That'll be next Thursday again. Thanks to Sydney Davis, our producer. Sydney always does an outstanding job with that. Couldn't do without him. And for his NBA update, the NBA is up and running right now. The finals are going on right now with the Bucks and with that Phoenix Sun team. So we'll see how that goes too. But we'll be back with you next Thursday. Same time, same place for another live Fishing and Hunting Today. Take care. We'll see you next week.